Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, how's everyone doing today? I'm David Perry. I am now doing this by myself, and Jonathan, my partner in crime, has gone and he is actually, really busy working with customers and working on sales and doing different sales opportunities. So this might change a little bit where I'm going to be, giving a demo, but more in the advocacy and development and kind of trying to hit different scenarios while we're doing this. So you might, it's not going to be your straightforward kind of sales engineer demo. It's going to be from your developer advocate. It is only me. So on that, there is question and answers. No chat, but a questions and answers. You guys should all be muted. And so to ask a question, you will, have to type it in and I will try to get that answer. Today, I am actually, if you see it's kind of blurry in the background, I am not at my normal desk. I am in Stockholm giving a talk at the J Focus. Or tomorrow. So I am taking this out of my hotel room. So please bear with me. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And what I like to, going to start this off with, I'm going to cancel that and go into Qodo merge. And I believe everyone can see my desktop, correct? I'm sharing and you can see that. If one person could kind of either indicate with a hands up. I think you can do a hands up or something. Oh, awesome. Thank you. So this is it used to be PR agent. This is Qodo Merge, our paid product. But um, if you are, I know I'm kind of bringing this up. If you are not in a big corporation or an enterprise and you guys are not able or don't want to use this, you could actually use the open source one that is called PR Merge, but then you have to supply your own backend and your token and how you're going to connect will connect to it, but you would have to set that all up and what LLM you would use. But what I'm going on with this is actually a PR that I've created. And this PR that I've done here, you'll see that I did not come up with this name. I would like to think that I can come up with that name, but it would just take me too long. So this is something that Qodo Merge will actually do for you. It will summarize and understand your PR, and that's what it's done. It's given a description. And now, like another good and new feature of this is if you put in the description a link to your requirements, then it will actually look at that. Or if you make your branch in, like when it comes to Atlassian, you'll actually be able to do that too. So I'll see if I can't get connected in Atlassian, if it'll let me. Um, okay, I should have access. So let's see if it's, nope, it's not going to let me. Um, for whatever reason, I could maybe switch accounts. Uh, well, I'll just go ahead and do that and see what's happening. I don't know why, but needless to say, that's in there. And actually, that doesn't matter that I cannot get to it right now because actually Qodo Merge can. So Qodo Merge is able to access this and give some input on did I or did I not meet all the requirements. It's talking about all the different enhancements that I made. It also has, here's some examples or some things that I can do for enhancements. So I can drill into these and see like, hey, this is what you did. You added a Lambda logger and, enhanced for the security errors. And, this is a great description of this. So I don't know if you guys have ever done code reviews and you're sitting there and you're trying to like, oh, I have to go and review this and you're not sure what it is. And you have to go read through the code. Well, this is a great way to get a good understanding in ahead of time. It actually can label things too. So you can put that in and give the review effort on label, enhancement, the bug fix. And I can see down here, that here is the review guide. So this kind of walks me through it and some observations. So remember, I was telling you about that ticket. And so it said that, look, I am validating the token from the HTTP request header, but I'm not checking for the swear words and offensive language in the response. So that's something I'm missing in my requirements. And that's on purpose. So this is just for my one of my talks that I give. And so, obviously we can implement that in. The level of effort to review this is 2. So this is really nice because if you have your team, or if you're looking at it, you can come to an agreement and say, oh, a 4 is getting really questionable if I should be able to ask for a review. But usually, like 3s and 2s, that's real, or 1s, that's what you want to shoot for so that you can actually grok it. And it's actually got some security concerns. So this is really good, saying, hey, you should just look into this. Now you can go on the command line. I've already done this in advance, and throw this out there. You can update or put in different commands in your comments, and it will trigger it. Again, it will trigger the review and interact with you. So you can actually interact with the Qodo merge agent. So I can say, hey, do a review. And, or if I do a pull request, it'll go ahead and give you the little eyeballs, and it knows that it's working on it and doing that. So here is some code suggestions. So this is highly configurable. Everything is configurable with this. So, through a PR agent TOML file or through the wiki, you can set up the wiki page. And I can look and say, look, I only want to think about securities and or PR suggestions in the category of security. You can do a lot of other categories, and I want maybe, only 8s, 9s, and 10s. So this is, this is just example. So this is not really valid token or anything else. It's just for, don't think you're stealing my token because I'm showing you this. But I don't know how many people have seen this sometimes, or maybe you forgot to check it in. It all depends on your workflow or where you're at in your development career. But this is really nice to see. This is what you should be doing. And it even kind of gave you an example and saying, hey, look, you really should get this from the environments. If you're thinking about microservices, that is something that you would get that from your microservice and have the ability, it'll get injected in there and maybe be a system environment variable. And you can actually apply this if you wanted to. So it'll actually apply it and change and do another update to your branch and have a new request. So another what do I call a hash. So, you can apply it. And so I have applied one suggestion before, and so I got a whole new one. And one was for the null check. So that was put in there and said, hey, you could possibly get a null pointer. And I said auto correct that or apply the suggestion. And so that's why you see that. And so I could merge this if I wanted to. This is just a normal tool. And then down here, this is all those commands I was telling you about. So I can actually come here and learn about the commands using this PR agent tool. This is a Chrome plugin. So if I look in here, here's my little Qodo merge AI power code review. And I can look and put in different instructions. And this is what I have to actually do the title. You can publish the labels, a description as a comment. And here's the generate AI title, and you can kind of see how that is. And you can, pick like the review, and I say, oh, I want to do inline commands. And this is, if I ran that now, it would do it as a comment. So I can say, comment on this, and you'll see this now that I put that there. We wait a few seconds, I'll get some eyeballs that'll show up, and that's Qodo merge saying, hey, I'm starting to work on this based on your command you wanted. And it'll come out with another chat. Now, obviously, whoever did the pull request and these comments are going to get emails or notifications, or if someone else is looking at this. So you might not want to do that. You might want to say, hey, wait a minute, this is not, I don't want all this chatter in here. And that's fine. I'll show you a different way to kind of have a conversation with Qodo merge without having it be these comments. Let's go real quick though. I want to show the improve. And if I wanted to update the improve and change the different thresholds, like see, I have it set to 9 and how many suggestions per the chunk. But what I really like this is the export as config. So if you click on that and can everyone update, one person just put up a hand for me? I know it's more than one, but you guys can see, if you can see the pop-up that says configuration file. Cool. So what's nice about this is I don't read the manual all the time. So there's a link to the manual and how to do all the configurations. But if I use this tool, this is the way I can just copy this, and you can even have a nice little copy there. And then I can go into the wiki. So I'll show you here, we can look at the wiki and update the wiki instead of using a PR one. I can go here and add the PR agent and add the different configurations there. And so it's kind of like a nice one. I do suggest while you're doing this is to actually go into your PR and kind of run these commands like I did and see what you're going to get. And then after that, and you say, oh, that's the way I want it, then you can copy it as a configuration and update it that way in your wiki after you're done. And the next PR, the Qodo merge will actually go through that wiki and look at all those configurations and do how you have it configured. So that is really nice. And then the last one I'll show for today, there's so much more to show, is I can have a conversation. So if you see here, this is a private chat to the actual Qodo merge agent. This doesn't do a comment where that you have a lot of chatter going back and forth and people getting notified because there's comments going on. So instead, I could select all the files that are in there, or I could just select this one file and say, what, because I'm doing a review. So I don't want to, I'm just doing scenarios. Say, oh, you don't want to look like an idiot, or you don't want to think you're going to ask a stupid question, or you might have a question, but you're supposed to review this. So how do you go about, asking that question and saying, okay, I can go ahead and ask a question and not look bad. And now it just makes your life easier to do a good review. And now you're not trying to assume or you don't have time. So I can say, what is the HTTP, let's just say syntax text to pass a token in the get. And so it's knowing that I picked this file only out of the whole chunk or hunk, they call it. It's not just a diff, it's a hunk. So I didn't do all of it. And then here's the old format and said it was removed. And then this is the new format that is put in there right now. So it can tell you different common header formats, basic bearer. There's custom headers. That's what I'm using. You can use the complete GET request syntax from the file as this. So, explain all the properties of GET that I can use. And now we'll see what it comes back to. So I'm having this conversation. If you guys weren't watching me, the agent doesn't care if you don't spell it 100% right. So I'm proof of that because I can hardly ever spell everything correctly, and no one else sees all this. So you can see this and get all this kind of syntax and common headers that you'll see that you can do, and you can just keep on drilling in and get all the information that you need to be able to do a successful merge request or PR and review that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing because now I'm going to go to my IDE and I'm going to use IntelliJ. I'm going to look here first to see if I have, okay, I have 2 questions. Can you please show how to get the config pop up again? Oh yeah, no problem. Sorry, I should have read the question before doing that. Let's go here. So I'll go back and we'll go to the conversations. And I go all the way down. So there's two things. You have to have the plugin because you don't have in these engines like GitHub and GitLab, we don't have the ability to have like this interactive style except using these comments. So that's the only way you could do that is by creating a comment. Is the only way to get the post to talk to the agent and get that input. So we're actually have a new channel going on. So this is this PR agent tool, and that is actually just a plugin because we get the actual response and we're actually putting this tool there so that we can actually HTTP post. And you can look at that. I think the tool is actually open source now too. I could be wrong. So I can go here and say, okay, I want to do what's the describe command? What do I want to be set up for the describe command? So I can sit here and say that I don't want to do this title because I don't want that. And then I can say for the title, use this format. And then we'll just say, hello, everyone. And I'm going to kind of test, well, not kind of, I'm going to test this out. So I'm going to say, do I want that or do I not? And we'll come through here, wait for the eyeballs, and then see what the output is. We'll give it a second, and it's going to describe. And then files changed, copy the walkthrough table to files changed. And I'm not going to do that right now, but I could go ahead and click on this to the description, and you'll see that it updated it and said, hello, everyone. So, that's how you do that. Let's just say for the sake of argument, that's what I wanted. So I go back to the describe, I pick that and I'll say, hello, everyone. And right here where it says export as config. So, anonymous, or it's an anonymous attendee. So whoever's anonymous, if you click on export as config, I click on that and you can actually see all of that there. And then you can copy it and then you put that in your configuration. Cool. And then mention it can check if the assessment criteria for the task has been fulfilled. Is anything missing? Does it mean that you can read tickets from tools like Jira? Yes, it can read tickets from Jira. So if we go up here, there's two ways of doing it. You first have to configure it, obviously, and it has to be able to access the Jira. So it'll do all the exchange and be an application in, and you have to add the two when you set that up. And the second is you either have to put the link to the actual Jira, or you could go into issues here in GitLab. You could do issues too, and we're actually adding more. Or you can give it the right naming. So I don't know if you ask for Jira. So I was trying to log into Jira, and for whatever reason, we changed our emails. So from our old company name to Qodo. So maybe that's the problem, but I'm not going to troubleshoot that. But really what happens is here is, as you guys probably know, in Jira, if you go through the Jira ticket and you click on it and say, hey, create a branch this way with the naming and the ticket ID on it, if you follow that convention for your branch name, for that ticket ID, and you have that configuration, it'll actually say, oh, I know this, and I know this branch name, and it follows that, and it'll go find the branch, it'll go find the ticket then and read the ticket. Now it'll read like descriptions, will read all the different fields. So before we just read like whatever you had in the description. Now it'll read all the different text fields. You can upload images to it and do things like that. And then it'll do its best to sit through. And what I really like about it, it'll either say, hey, you're partially completed, and it thinks that. But really what I like about this is, okay, it's not going to say that you're compliant unless it really can tell in the code and looking at the requirement. If not, it's going to say non-required or partial, or it's not sure. So it really causes a lot of developers, if you've looked at, to do what I think now, with since we're using all these tools, of really getting back down to, did you implement the requirements correctly? So there was the pop-up. I did that one. And I'll say, how you mentioned it can check if the assessment criteria for the tax have been fulfilled. Anything's missing. Does it mean that it can take it from? Yes. So I answer that. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me see. We're using open source PR agent via GitHub Actions, which we do not have the pro app. Okay, can we still use the in the wiki config file, or does that require? No, it does not require pro. I'm pretty sure. So if I come up here and I just gonna do this on the fly because it's only me. Usually I'm in the background giving the answers. So if we come here and go to, this is just how I, will find the answers. There is a table, and I'm going to look really quickly and see if I can't. I wish I had my big screen. We have a table, and that shows all the different. Go to the docs. Yes, that's what we want. And there's this table that has the diamond. So if it has the diamond, that means it's the pro. So that's a pro feature you don't have. And we're looking for the PR TOML. And I'm uh, almost certain. Yeah, because the whole thing is the PR agent TOML file is actually how we communicate. So even in the PR agent open source, it's how you communicate your configurations and how to do that. So this is a nice link to go to see, the different features. And this little blue one means, hey, that's the pro to do. So you couldn't be able to do that. And so, but like on the ask, if you want to configure the ask or the describe, you need that TOML file to be able to configure it. Cool. Done there. Okay. Cool. Okay. Done. Okay, cool. Answered that. Done. Cool. So I answered that one last. Cool. Now we have that. And I know I say cool too much, but now I'm going to go to the actual tool. So let's go ahead and share my desktop. And I always like to do this because I'm more concerned and wanting as developers on the call, raise your hand if you're VS Code. Okay. And so now you can put your hand down and raise your hand if you're IntelliJ. And the rest of the people are Emacs or VI or another ID. So right now our plugin is actually good for IntelliJ and actually VS Code. We are working on, I just got listened in and we are working on one for Eclipse and also for Visual Studio. So I can't tell you, it's fair harbor statement or whatever. Whatever I say, um, I don't give dates or anything like that. So, and so Peter, I see you still have your hand up. Is that because you're Emacs or VI or just keeping the hand up? Cool. And then so now I'm on my so I'm an I like IntelliJ. I use VS Code too. And so because of this, I don't take sides. I'm going to close the panels right now so I can actually see my IDE and the whole breadth of it. So got to have a pretty easy project here just to be able to get some points across. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the actual command line. This command line code is just something that you can see and understand. You take some command line and you can say there's a log file and that actually is not needed, and I will apply it and then we'll click OK and I'll run this. And what this is going to do, it's going to go out to the Chuck Norris website, get a joke, and from the joke, it's going to send it into I have Olama running. So if we look here, Olama, we list it. I'm going to be hitting the DeepSeek R132. And or no, actually I'm hitting Phi. So I'm going to hit the Phi latest and ask it to give me back an answer. So we can kind of look at this and then I'll just run it. And how this does this is just a little command line. I have the command going in and it's going to ask me for my name. So I'm going to use my own name just so I didn't, unless if someone wants me to use their name to have um, a joke. So what it is I'm going to use call the Chuck Norris, but then I'm going to give it to large language model and say act like George Carlin. So, and act like you're George Carlin and go ahead and do a call. So if you want me to use your first name, I will use you. You can raise your hand. But if no one raises their hand, I'll put my name in. Okay, Iman. I hope I said it. He was the first one I saw. So I'm going to hit enter. This is using virtual threads. I have a talk on that and do that. So I do a lot of value add talks, a lot in the Java space, but you know, the Microsoft and also in JavaScript too. But I'll do that one. And if we see here, we got a log going. And in the logs, we got the command flags. So it's really just that is the log it's saying to use. And then this was the original joke. It says you don't just see Chuck Norris facts, you experience them and merely accept truth for what it is. So I got that from the website, but that gets fed into the Open AI caller and says you will channel the essence of George Carlin as a comedian for the turning the joke into a funny story that is at least 2 paragraphs and no longer than a page. So we should see now something come back soon here. And yes, we did. And so this is the original joke, but now I replaced it with Chuck Norris. I checked it and added Iman. And so there are, you know, so I'm not going to read all of this, but you can see this. Now I'm thinking of myself, the secret of youth. Is that like magic potion or something? So this is supposed to be like Carlin and doing that joke. Okay, so now we understand that. But if we remember that requirements that I missed, there's this requirements, there's this scrubber, and I'm supposed to check the input and see, does it contain any swear words? Now, for the sake of argument and doing this, and so that we can have kind of a nice demonstration and understand these things, we have a data sanitizer and a log cleaner. And they're both not implemented. So that's why it said, hey, wait a minute, you didn't do any of the scrubbing. You have the implementation of the interface to do this, but you're just not scrubbing anything. So that's where now we're going to go ahead and implement some of this. But before that, I told you about this project. One of the things you're going to want to do is actually understand the project. So before I go in and start implementing and writing code, I really want to understand how things are set up and dealing with this. So I can actually pick, and I will pick the whole context for the folder, and I can say, hey, I want to explain this. So this is one piece of functionality I want to explain. So I can select those lines, or I can say just the entire file, and I can do a command. I can say explain. And now what that's going to do, it's going to look at this interface and explain it to us and give you a better understanding of the project or of this one piece of functionality before we want to implement it. So even when I said explain it, it even gave me kind of like an interface already. So it says an interface to find a text scrubbing contract that replaces swear words with a redacted placeholder. It includes a constant for the redaction text and a shared set of swear words loaded from a file. So you'll see here that it actually gave me an example usage or actually the code to do that. And then it said, okay, here's what you can do and test this out. So, and it gives you kind of the flow, interacts with the redacted words and defines that. And here's the key that it'll actually show you all the other classes it kind of used to kind of get an understanding of what we're doing in the context to be able to really get a good understanding. So this really helps a lot when you are taking on a new project that's already been implemented, or a lot of people are writing a lot of code on it already, and you have to maybe fix a bug or start adding a new feature. You can do that. I have the whole complete context, so I can actually do a free form question too and say, search the project and explain what the command line parsing, or how the command, explain the command line parsing, how, yeah, how the command line parsing works. So now, you guys see that? I want to see where people are right now. Okay, cool. And then see if I have any questions as I'm going here. Like I said, I'm on a really small, or just my Mac laptop window, so I'm trying to get to the questions, which are not showing up for me. Give me 1 second. See if I can't get that one to pop up. There we go. Okay. Does it mean that it also supports JetBrains Rider? Yes, all the JetBrains platforms, with a caveat to, as you would probably think, I'm talking about Android Studio. Android Studio still it uses the open source as the platform, and it's not using, I think it's JF. I can't remember the whole acronym, but essentially a certain browser IDE, or web browser plugin, because this part right here where you see the output, that response is, an HTML JavaScript response. And so you need to do some configuration in your IntelliJ, and you have to have the right power and the right things set up. So we don't really directly support the one from, when it comes to what do you call it, for Microsoft, or not Microsoft, oh, where am I going, is when it comes to using the um, JetBrains, they're using the one for Google. So the one for the development for Android Studio. I hope that answered. Yep. So that is a yes. So I'll say done there. And now come over here and we'll see that this outputted a lot more for us. So I said, search the project, explain how the command line parsing works. So this is an analyzing command line parsing functionality based on the code base. It was able to do this because it has context. I told it to use the whole project. And then it's getting hits because we're doing this local RAG. So, and maybe I'm sharing the magic, but oh well, you guys get to understand and know the magic myself, or for yourself. So this is kind of the core part of how it works for the command line flags, and it's going to tell you how it's talking about a hash map and how it's storing in a hash map, how it's parsing it, and we're using a single minus for the parsing. And it even sees a look, example of output jokes, and it's an optional. So we already know that if you go to do jokes, if you don't give it a different file for output, it's going to use jokes to start it out. And we saw that evidence of that it's jokes underscore and then the name that was put in there. So it really gives you a pretty good explanation, and then everything it referenced. And you'll see it's a different set of references because it really did a whole bunch of different rags and hits. So even on the README, explaining it and understanding it, it's now brought that in because it, had a vector search hit on the README and gave that piece to the large language model to describe it for us. So that goes over the explanation. Now what I can do is, you'll see that we have a lot of different commands. So I'll show you here that, we can do an ask. If you don't do /ask, you can just simply type in there without a slash, and that is the default, is an ask. We have test suite, which will actually open up another test panel. You can say improve something, and you can find if there's something similar on GitHub with this. You could ask to give me one enhancement for this, and you can even do like a doc screen, or you do your best practices. You'll have it generate best practices. It'll look at your part of that. So the last thing I'll hit on for those is if I click here and go into get diff, and I can say my local changes, this kind of puts me in the PR agent mode or the Qodo merge mode. And now you can see that I have different commands. So those different commands are the ones that you saw that we were looking at in um, earlier in the Qodo merge when I was reviewing Qodo merge. So the things in Qodo merge, you can say, hey, look, I want to describe this. So you can describe my changes, and it'll actually go and do the description of that and everything you have there. And it comes really similar to that of what's on the with Qodo merge. Could you confirm which LLM model is being used? I saw you have. Okay, so the 5.4 is just one for the demo where I called out to it. It wasn't the tool. And for the tool, the model I'm using right here is the Sonnet 3.5 right now that I'm doing it. I can actually use DeepSync to do that, or I can use DeepSeek R1, and you'll see that these are US hosted models too. We're hosting them for you. You don't have to give us your tokens. But for the example of the code, it just happens to be that I'm actually calling out to a local model on my own for the project itself. So just because, you know, you can use AI to help you develop, and you can also develop AI using AI to help you develop AI. And that's what we're doing. So I'm using Qodo to help us develop and call out and do some enrichment using AI. So I think, okay, I answered that. So click there, and then I'm new to the tools. Sorry, no, there's no dumb question. Which programming languages does this support? So that's a good question. We support most of all the popular languages out there, like JavaScript. I can't like name them all off the top of my head. So that's where I would go to the website and see what are the ones that out of the box we support. Now, even said that we support most of the common ones or ones, I've actually taken with the ask and said, hey, here's some COBOL and fix something with this for me, or turn it into, some Java code, or, try to convert it to that. And it will do that still. So it's not against it. It just means that we're more proponent to certain popular languages, but you can do other ones. And then also we're really known for our test cases that I'm going to show you. So you have to have more context and more awareness of the language if we're going to do some really good testing or write some testing. So I'm looking now at the web page to see. I think it comes down. It's Python, TypeScript, JavaScript, Java, Kotlin, Go, PHP, C++, Swift, C Sharp. Those are the main ones that we'll call out that we support. But we also support, indirectly we'll support more. It's just that those tests we're not going to be able to. And so I answered that. Let's go ahead there. Could you please give us an example to generate test suite? Yep, I will. We're going to get there. So let's go ahead first and implement some code. So right now, even though I have a test for this, so right now I already have some test cases, and they're like the data sanitizer, because I want both of them. They meet the requirements because they're supposed to do the same thing for the kind of example. This test, these are the same tests to run on both of them because we're using the interface. So it's going to call the scrubber and get each one. Now, with that said, that's kind of the test, and I can run this and Here, let me go to the data sanitizer. I can like run this test. Where are we? Yeah, there we go. I can run it. And this happens to be Spock. Or no, this is JUnit. Sorry. No, it's Spock. Sorry, my bad. Spock. And you'll see it's not passing everything because if we go to the data sanitizer, we haven't implemented anything. So let's go ahead and implement it, but I'll also say I'm not sure if I have all the tests that I want. So after we implement it, we'll run our test and then we'll go ahead and generate some more tests for that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the interface here. And I have that as I have the whole project as context, but I'm also going to get out of the mode of the diff, and now I'm going to go into the current file. So now I have different commands, so I can do the ask again. So I'm not in the mode of like PR, I'm in the mode of development. So now with that, I have this here. I can say I'm going to select these lines for the sake of it and go ahead and say implement the method or the scrub. See if I can spell today. Scrub method requirements in the Java doc and use in or from the Java doc in the data in the data sanitizer. And now that's not on purpose for the demo, but since I did it, I'm just going to leave it in there. So know this, it's not syntactically you have to get all 100%. So I will get connected here in just a second. I will answer your question, Kevin, too. And Roach Schwar. Sorry, I'm really bad with names. But here we go. I implemented that. Now I can, or it is the implementation. And this looks good, what I wanted. Here's a little neat thing to show or discuss about this that you'll see is that this is quite performant because we're using streams now. We're doing it in a declarative way. Well, why did it went ahead and use a declarative? Because naturally, the large language models have been trained, like especially in Java, for almost 30 years now on imperative style for loop. So if you don't have something like a best practices file, which that's what we have, you can add, and that was this using that slash best practices here can generate one, and you can tweak this as much as you want. It's markdown. But what we do is we find that we'll actually take that file and give it to the model and say, hey, follow these best practices and these instructions. And so that's where I said, hey, use a declarative style when you're providing implementation or examples in Java and adopt the functionality. So this is really good as a group of developers or even just you as a single developer. If you don't want to have to type that every time, and this is the key, is you want to be very precise in your prompting and you want to let the tool kind of handle it for you. So I have that, and that's why I got this declarative and not the what you would think is an the imperative style, the old for loop. So let's go ahead, and I do this many different ways. I'll just do the insert here. So it inserted this, and we can run now this data sanitizer and see that I have all the tests and it's meeting all the requirements for these tests, but I'm not sure if that's enough. So I want to write some more tests for this. So I can simply do this, and this is where, since you asked the question and you've patiently have waited for me to give you the answer, I'm sorry, but giving it to you to generate that, there's many ways of doing this. So I can go here to test this method, and that will open up the test panel and generate a lot of tests for you. These are comprehensive too. So it's going to go ahead and do this COT, this chain of thought where it's asking and getting back a set of behaviors and saying, hey, how's this behaving? And then from there, describe them. And then it's getting in more in depth and it's asking again another model to do something else. And this is this whole agentic. We're doing agentic before you call was agentic, because simply for me as agentic is it's going off and asking the web, or it's going out and doing some more work without having to involve a human. It's steps into that. And so, though we're coming out with more and more agentic abilities and capabilities in the life cycle, in your development, but right now for this guy, this is all these ones with the sub behaviors too. So this is what we were really known for, and what really got me as a customer in the beginning using Qodo was this whole ability for the tests. So I only have it set right now to say generate two, but if I go here, here's the test. So it generated that test. And I could take this and say, yep, that's a good test. And I want to use that. I can copy it. I can, actually open it as a file and save it. We do have this a new version of Qodo Gen coming out soon. I think maybe Tuesday of next week. And it's going to have a lot more AI agentic flows in it. So hearing the Qodo Gen chat, you're going to see something that's going to be called test. And if you did the test, instead of having the panel open up, and have these Qodo Gen tests, it's going to use different agents and generate comprehensive tests and get a little bit more involved. So we're just one-upping our own game of generating tests for you. So that is one. There is also another way to launch this. You can actually are in here in the chat and say you want to give a little bit more context to the test. I can actually go ahead and pick this guy, have this one, the test, but I can actually add more context. So I have the different contexts. I can, select this guy and, add that to the context by going here. But then I can also go in and we should be able to add this guy. When I say should, we will add this guy. And now I will come here and say test suite and hit enter. And now that will go ahead and we'll see it went ahead and saw that I had the scrubber and the swear word set as in the Java. So those are more context. Oh, wait a minute. I did the wrong one. Sorry, I was on here. I already have that in context. So I'm going to come to the data sanitizer. Sorry. And from the my bad. Sorry, from the data sanitizer, I'm going to say do the test suite because that's my file focused. I always get that wrong. There we go. And now we should see the data sanitizer and the scrubber and the data, and it has that and it's grabbed that one because that's the context I was giving in a focus. So now it has a little bit more to even help influence the test cases and the edge cases and, the others here. And what I like about this, if anyone, so could you, okay, so I think I answered yours. There we go. And then I'll get to the external context in just a second. So here you can actually write your own behavior and say, test that it adds a thank you string to the end of the swear words or end of the joke. Call that. So now I just gave it a behavior and saying, hey, you didn't hit that behavior. And so I can go ahead and push that out and it will create that test and I can go to that test and you can see this is the joke, this is a joke. And it's saying, look, here's what the results should be, the expected output, and that's the result. So it said, hey, look, this is what you're getting. This is your response back, the result. So that's what we should see every time, hard coded, because that's what I told it. And you're only putting in this as a joke, so they should equal each other. So perfect. You're doing your test driven, and I could do this without even having the method implemented if I wanted to, and then go ahead and start implementing them. Um, is it possible to add extra context, such as websites or maybe a remote drive or local folder? So we do not go out yet and allow you to add like external websites or other things like that when it comes to context. But what we do is allow you to add other, um, if I had it here, you would see it up here, other in our paid product, you can actually connect to your repositories. So you can add other repositories. So what's neat about that is you can actually go in and say, look, I want to have this repository be my golden repository, or here's a few ones. You can tag the repositories and say, this is a tagged repository is for front-end JavaScript, Next.js JavaScript, and that's what you want to follow, versus here's one for Java, here's a whatever, and your developers can pick that. And I'm not connected right now to a back end for that, but I'm going to see here if I can quickly, I'll have to restart. So I'm not going to be able to do it here, but it would come here and you would have it actually in your extra context. When you would hit extra context, you would see the other projects, and then it would show up here too, the ones you have it, and that would be hitting your remote repositories. Okay, so I answered that. Okay. Can we do playwright tests? Yes, we can. I have actually, I'm not going to show it today here, but on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, I put out content for different videos, and I'm looking right now, I'm searching for the playwright. So I have actually done one. Now, it's not like just push button. You're still the developer in the driver's seat, and you will need to actually go ahead and, be cognizant of how you're doing this and add context, but it will generate the playwright. And so I'm looking here really quick. Give me 1 second and oh yeah, here we go. I figured since I'm taking all of our time to do this, I will copy this link and put it in here. And I think if I answer this, type your answer, and I'm not going to send it privately so everyone can see it, and you can go ahead and watch that. Can it enhance existing test suites for me as a QA engineer? So and so saying that it doesn't have like a button yet to say enhance. Our new agentic one, it's going to go ahead and understand your project a little bit better, and it will actually can enhance or add to the test. Right now, you would have to come into here and say, okay, well, what do I want to do here? I can quickly explain this. I can enhance it, or improve it. So I can click in there. So if you saw that again, I'm going to show you, I had to open up the options and say improve this, or I can select it. And if I'm selecting it, you'll see over here, I can actually pick those lines and say improve this way too. So there's many ways of doing that, but since I'm picking that method, and do that, I can say improve. And now it's going to take that and it's going to now use just the basic kind of improve command in the general of, hey, it'll know it's a test, it has the context, and it's going to try to improve it. And it'll say replace with explicit declaration, scrubber, and string and input better type safety and reliability. It'll do that. And also you'll see you can pick the different ones. And so I can pick that one and I can say, I want to preview this, and you can see the changes that it's done. And it's saying, hey, look, try some time and make sure the timers time out and time how to do that. Also, though, I think too, if you were really looking at this, you're saying, is this enough? You can grab all of these tests And what I like is I have the data sanitizer now, and I have the scrubber spec here um, going. And remember, I'm extending both of them. And this is one test for both the scrubber and the log cleaner. So like for logging, I'm going to clean out any swear words, and also for the data sanitizer, which returns it back. So I can say, for these, review the tests, the current tests, and um, create any new ones from missing cases for the data sanitizer. And ties. So now it's going to go out and do that. So that is right now how to use the tool. In a week from now, it's going to get a little bit better to do that. And you're welcome. Oh, someone else put that in there. Thank you for putting, oh, that's answer live. Okay, done. What would you suggest for beginners to start with? Um, I'm trying to understand your question, like what would you start with from beginners? If you're getting onto a project and you don't know it, even if I'm a senior guy, I'm going to try to grok what that project's doing. And I typically like to say, hey, I want a whole explanation of this project, or I find an area of the project and I see some names of files or other things, and I will get the whole context and I will ask and say, hey, explain what is happening here, or what's going on, and get an understanding of the actual project. I think if that's what you're saying, like how I dive in, once I kind of know what I'm doing, then I'll say, hey, maybe you have a new requirement that you have to add or enhance this, and say, look, I need to enhance and create a scrubber that not only scrubs names, but also scrubs swear words, but scrubs names when they're entered in on the command line, so that you can't have any swear words on there. How would you go about doing that? And it would go ahead and do that for you. I hope I answered there. Well, it is at the top of the hour. I hope everyone enjoyed the demo, kind of diving into here and looking through. I didn't go through a whole bunch of different scenarios. I just hit on a whole bunch of different ones, and one across the board to kind of give you an overview on some things. And I thank you, and we'll see you at the next one. And happy coding with Qodo.